Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here at Metaphysical Times. We are doing an extended exclusive bonus interview with a writer of ours, Elyse Wells, who is also the creator of Seeking Numina, um, connecting people with spiritual places. Elyse, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome, and how are you today?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to put a face to the name when people are reading my articles. Now they know who's behind them. I'm doing really well. Seeking Numina. Numina is the Latin word for spiritual places. So my job as a spiritual teacher is coming from this place of spiritual travel. So I actually just got back from a pilgrimage to India. I was there for about 3 weeks. It was incredible. I have a workshop that I think by the time this airs will have already passed. I'm doing a workshop in December 2022, but I'll have that recording up in my online Patreon community because it's something that I didn't expect. And I always find this, even though I've traveled a lot, I never expect to find so much overlap with paganism and Western witchcraft, things that we consider Wiccan based. I'll be in a backwater village in India and somebody will have a practice so connected to what we grow up with and learn in the West. And that's what spiritual travel, I think, can do. It opens your understanding of what you actually already believe. It helps you solidify those beliefs. And it also helps you jump a little bit out of your comfort zone of your beliefs and try new things because you witness them, you see how they affect people. And that's what I try to bring into my articles and into what I do with, sharing travels for people who might not want to travel. So, my social media and stuff, that's what I'm always trying to do is like bring you there without making you have to go there. Because not everybody wants to go to India.
I'm excited about it. I mean, there's been some, I want to go, but there are a lot of things that, travel for me right now isn't the best option, but and India is not on the top 5 list of places that I want to go.
Yeah.
Definitely on the list. So, having someone that's been there and someone that's, well, I mean, one of our writers, Shasha Kadapa, is actually from there.
Oh, right.
So
That's
yeah.
cool.
So we get a lot of the cultural mix in articles from him in the paper, and it's great to have, but a lot of his articles and it's always great, but for him it's just like normal way of life to have someone who's not from there go and bring information back and share it with us and our readers is really exciting for me. It really is.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. And I noticed that too with because I grew up as an expat. I'm a Greek Egyptian American. And then when I was a kid, my parents got a job in the Middle East in Bahrain, a tiny little island off the coast of Saudi Arabia. So I've always lived within cultures that weren't my own. And I've always felt, even in America, I still had my dad being a first generation immigrant from Greece and Egypt. He's like half and half. So even he was an expat growing up. So that's always kind of been my lens is as a traveler. No matter where I've been, I've always looked at it as an outsider. I lived growing up in Pennsylvania, about 2 hours away from DC, Washington, DC. And I was so thrilled to get to go and see the White House and, do the touristy thing. And I remember people around me were like, I've never been, I've never gone. I'm like, it's 2 hours away. They're like, yeah, but it's just DC. Like there's an appreciation you have when it's foreign to you. Even though I grew up in Pennsylvania, I still had this understanding that America is America. It's a different culture. A lot of times Americans stay where they are so long, they don't realize that they're actually unique in this world. So it's a good perspective to have. It gives you self-confidence to realize that you are special. It's so cliche, but no matter where you live, no matter how small your town is, you have something really unique to experience. And there are spiritual places around you. Like people always ask me, where's some of your favorite spiritual places? And in my top 5, usually around number 2 or 3, is actually this little hike in Lancaster, Pennsylvania called Chickies Rock. It's nothing that fancy, but if you go there, you feel the energy and you'd agree with me. And people always roll their eyes and they say that they're like, you've been to Budapest and Italy and Switzerland and Germany and England, and that's what you're going to tell me? And I'm like, yes, I can't lie. The energy doesn't lie.
I grew up in Phoenix, and I was
Oh yeah.
30. I was 30 something before I ever went to the Grand Canyon.
Oh no, I was gonna say Arizona's like really spiritual.
There are a lot of spiritual places. You kind of got to set people aside because there's such an eclectic mix of people that it's really hard to find. And it's so fast paced, and things are just so constantly moving there. But when you do get out and you get out on a hike or you get out into the wilderness where
Yeah.
the spiritual connection is massive there, but it's not necessarily where all the people are.
Yeah, well, I agree with that about most places. India was an exception for that, actually. The people are so rooted in their spirituality, which I think is it. I mean, in the West, we have so many different religions, even Christianity, there's like, I don't even know, 20 plus sects, and none of them see each other as the same religion, which is so not normal. Like, it's really, really different. Like, I've never been, even in England, like, there's a lot of Christians. That's definitely the number one religion, but nobody would say, oh, but you're not my type of Christian. I don't talk to you. Like, it's very strange. So Americans aren't there's not a cultural spiritual grounding like there is in India. Like Hinduism is 85% of folks' religion. And even though they all have their own way of doing it at home, they're all doing it. And I live in Greece now. I kind of go where the spiritual is. I like to say, like, I go where spirit takes me. And during the pandemic, I was in rural Pennsylvania and just, working from home and everything. And I love it there. And I just was kind of checking in with myself, doing tarot readings, doing my full moon rituals, asking for guidance and meditation. Like, where am I supposed to be? Like, I knew I wasn't supposed to be there anymore. It's a comfortable place for me, but I knew I was supposed to get out of that comfort zone. And I kept getting moved to Greece as an answer, which is like super specific. And my dad's Greek. I have Greek citizenship. Like, I can move to Greece. But I was like, what the heck? No, I can't do that. My husband's American. He's not Greek. He can't come. This, that, this. And sure enough, once I said to Spirit, I said, listen, all right, I'm listening. We're moving to Greece. I don't know what that even means or how it's going to happen, but I'm moving to Greece. And over the next year and a half after that, I started finding opportunities and ways to make this happen. They started presenting themselves, opportunities started presenting themselves, and I got the idea for this business. And the rest was history. It's like the most spiritual place I've ever been. Since I've moved here, I have written my first novel. I finished my first novel, Witch on the Juniata River, which is it's a paranormal mystery, but the main point about it is that it's a witch and she's the good guy, and she is solving this mystery to help the ghosts with occult practices that you and I are familiar with. She's using pendulums, black salt, tarot cards. It's not fantastical. It's real witchcraft. And she is the good guy, like I really wanted a story like that. I could never find one like that.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so
I'm excited and looking forward to that one. For just a second, my phone rang and my phone doesn't ring. So we're turning the volume off and moving forward. So you covered a lot of the questions that we that I had. Which is absolutely great. I mean, it's always great and interesting hearing from someone that's traveled and you can shed light and share experience on things that most of us here we can only imagine. We've never been there. We've never been out. We've never gone and seen places and you touched on the favorite place. It's the little hiking trail in Pennsylvania, and
yeah.
So it just, where do you go from there? The next question, I suppose. But you kind of touched on and told us already how you relate to the pagan community. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I can. So I've been practicing for about 10 years, and I started out solitary, as I think probably most people do. But then I was fortunate enough to find a coven in York, Pennsylvania, which was close to where I was living at the time. And I'm the 5th generation for that coven, which is, I think, is pretty rare. I was so lucky to find them. It was, well, maybe it wasn't luck, right? It was spirit, but we're an eclectic coven, but we're based in the fairy tradition. So I kind of had a good understanding from like my reading, you know, as well as my practical experience of like the Wiccan roots of witchcraft as we mostly practice it today. I don't think most witches are Wiccans anymore, but I was glad to kind of have that understanding, but then also be part of a more eclectic coven. Like none of us work with the same pantheon as each other. We don't follow any specific, you know, expectations of calling things this name, or like there's a lot of stricture in Wicca that my coven didn't impress upon me, which I think allowed me then to be a little bit more eclectic in my own practice. Because I came from a solitary background, and I'm Greek and Egyptian and American, so I can't pick just one pantheon, just one goddess. You know, some people are so strict on that. So I was glad to be, you know, to have that foundation. And now they call me the ambassador for my coven, because I'm the one out and about telling people about witchcraft in countries that don't even have it. That's something a lot of people don't know, is in Greece, it's illegal to be a witch. It's illegal to practice witchcraft. And there's no one's gonna come for you, but they could. That's the thing, you know, like it's just not really gonna happen in the States. You might have individuals who are opinionated, right? And they might, like our coven does outdoor events, and we've had guys, you know, drive slow in their trucks trying to see what the heck we're up to, but it's never been a concern like, oh, the actual government is against what I'm doing.
But
So I've been
like. That is what it's like in Greece.
yeah. I mean, it's legally, there's no separation of church and state. It is legally a Greek Orthodox country. So the government is the church. It's very different. Like everyone's Greek Orthodox, and there's no minorities here. Everyone's Greek. Like, sure, okay, there are like it's part of Greek hospitality to allow any immigrants that need to come here. They also are a fledgling population. Greece has been on a population decline for over 100 years. So, like, just for reference, there are 4 times as many people in Rome as there are people in all of Greece, including the 200 plus inhabited islands and the whole mainland, which is like imagine like a distance of like Maine down to like North Carolina. And there's only 10 million people, less than 10 million people.
Wow.
It's very underpopulated, which is fantastic to live here, because you always get a table at the restaurant, and the beaches don't get too crazy until the tourists show up. But yeah, so it's been very different living here. I mean, even I used to live in Baltimore. That's where I moved from, and there was probably 10 million people just in my corner of Baltimore.
Yeah, we're in Ogden, and I think the population here is like 300,000.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, just in our area, and we're like 30 miles north of Salt Lake City. So, and it's like there's population, and I've lived all over the US, and there are places like in Phoenix, you can't tell from where you're standing. If you step 2 feet in either direction, you could be in a different city, but there's no separation between them, no obvious separation. But then there are places like in Florida and Arkansas where you got to go miles, like you got to go through the woods to get to grandma's house in the next city.
Yeah.
You know, it's a 100-mile drive. It's an 80-mile drive, and it's woods. There's definite separation between the 2 locales.
Yeah.
You know, because in order to get like from this place to that place, there's a transition that happens. Is it like that in Greece? Is there like
yeah, it's not so rural. It's that's an interesting question, because there's Athens. Athens is huge. There's probably, I don't know this for sure, but probably at least 20 to 50% of the country's population is probably in Athens, honestly. And Athens is big. It's not like London big, but it's not New York big. I'd say it's like Philadelphia big. That's a reference I would be able to say.
Yeah.
And so there's suburbs, but they're definitely still Athens. So on the drive into Athens, for me, that's like 50-ish minutes with tolls. And I'll go through like suburbia, essentially. It doesn't look like American suburbia, but that's what it is. It's like usually apartment buildings. Most Greeks live in apartments. But then if you go, like I've driven down to Nafplio, which is like the coast by Italy. So the Peloponnese is the name of this mountain range down there. There's like 5, they call them the fingers because they really look like, this is what the mainland of Greece looks like. So I live like here, and then Nafplio, I want to say, is on this finger. So I've driven this whole distance, and it's of course mountains, so it's kind of zigzaggy, but when you drive through there, you do have like big stretches of nothing. But then you'll see these beautiful houses with olive groves around it, and you're like, actually, I want to live there. Like, it's not so I hear banjos as it is in the States, you know? It's charming, actually. It's rustic.
Oh, that's great. Oh.
You gotta have a sense of humor when you travel as much as I do.
Yeah, absolutely. We did a trip years ago now, and you know, GPS was still kind of new. You know, okay, I'm showing my age now, but yeah, the GPS was still kind of new. Google Maps. I think it was our first trip using Google Maps instead of MapQuest.
Oh yeah, I remember MapQuest.
That long ago. And I remember we were going through Alabama or Georgia. It might have been Georgia. It was Georgia because
you can't even tell. I've driven through those states. You can't tell which is which, honestly.
But we were on the interstate, and the GPS said, turn left. Turn left. And we were like, we're on the interstate. There is no left. So we took the next off ramp thinking, you know, construction and everything. And so we go off and we end up going through this absolute backwoods town at like midnight.
Oh my gosh.
Pitch dark. And I was like, but we're lost. Like every neighborhood there, like dead ended into, you know.
Yeah.
As far as traveling, that's probably the scaredest I've ever been. And there were houses everywhere. I mean, it wasn't like we were just out in the woods. We were in actual neighborhoods, and there were houses everywhere. But like every house had somebody sitting on the porch in a rocking chair. You know, there was
yeah,
at midnight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and being strangers in a strange place where we were lost and didn't have any idea. Oh man. Yeah. That was,
and that's actually, I would say that's a misconception people have about traveling outside of the US. Like people will ask me about Greece. Is it safe? And I'm like, no one carries firearms here. It's much safer. You know, like I have friends in Baltimore who will be like, oh, is it safe in Greece? I'm like, of course it is. There's guns. Like, Baltimore. There's stray bullets flying past your house. Yes, it's much safer in Greece. I promise you.
Is that a common question that a newcomer to Greece from anywhere else asks?
No, only Americans. Even, and actually what's strange too is Americans have asked me that about England. They've asked me that about Ireland. They've asked me that about the Middle East, which, okay, I guess older people probably have a different idea of the Middle East because they're thinking, you know, 9/11, but that Middle East is very different from Dubai. You know, like I went to Dubai and I posted a bunch of stories on my Instagram about it, and people replied like, stay safe, stay safe. I was like, guys, you don't have to worry. It's if you look up the safest countries in the world, Bahrain is number 2, Dubai is number 4, and that's just Dubai. Dubai is one of 7 Emirates, United Arab Emirates. They're individual countries that have like a kind of like a state thing going on with each other. The others make up the last 10, you know, up to 10. Like it's so safe there, so safe. But people just have a misconception about that. And I have to say, India was probably I don't know, I wouldn't call it dicey in a really scary way, just in an uncomfortable way, because there's a lot of bacteria in the water. So you can't eat fresh fruit or vegetables or juice or anything that they're going to mix water with it. So I was getting cramps after almost 3 weeks of no vegetables. That's just a problem, to not really be able to eat vegetables. And then people have a different talking distance in every country. Right. So for Americans have the largest in the world, actually, which is weird. I would think it's the Brits because they're very buttoned up, but it's Americans. It's like almost 6 feet. It's 3 feet in India. So they don't mean to be in your face, but for them, that's normal. And
that's normal, yeah.
That's uncomfortable to me, especially post-COVID. We really got used to social distancing, and it's just a crowded country. There's 1.6 billion people in a space that's about Ohio to Maine. That's insane. Yeah. That's so many people. So everything's just a bit sandwichy when you get into the more populated areas, and people see you and they stare at you, but nobody, I have to say, nobody tried to touch me even one time. And I actually expected it. I just said to myself, all right, it's going to happen. Somebody's going to, because I've heard stories like they'll grab your hair or want to touch your skin because they've never seen white people before. And it's not like
100 years.
It's not comfortable, but it's not like they're going to hurt you either. It's just weird. But nobody tried that. Nobody tried that at all. So much less something creepier. So I have to say, like, travel in general is way more positives than negatives could possibly happen. Like, it's annoying not to eat vegetables, but it was worth it, to be in India, like to see these temples and there's pollution and there's, not a great trash system. There's piles of trash in the cities, but still, you just have to go. Like, you can't not, if you have the opportunity to travel and see something new, you should just go, even if you think you won't find food you like, or you think you'll be hot, or you don't like the shoes you brought or something. Like I've gone to trips where I've done that and I've had blisters and they've taken weeks to heal when I get back. But did I regret the trip? No, it's never happened.
We're at the 10-minute mark. We've got about 10 minutes left. So let's see. I mean, we really touched on all of the questions that I had. That's been amazing. Just with conversation, and I love meetings like this where they just go, and this one has been especially informative and information sharing, because I mean, we definitely have our perspective of the way things are outside of here, so it's fresh, it's refreshing and interesting to have outside perspective come in. And I appreciate you for taking the time to do that, not just for the paper, but like in your life in general. This is what you do. Literally.
Oh, thank you.
Are going above and beyond to bring people to the spiritual places and bring perspectives that we might not have otherwise.
Thank you. That's it. I mean, like, I don't think traveling to India is for everyone, just to use that example again. I really don't. Like, there's a lot of people I know who would have hated it. Even my husband, I went with my mom and a bunch of ladies. It was just women on this trip. And I had never done a group thing like that, but I felt safer to do it that way. Usually I just book a ticket and use TripAdvisor or whatever for myself, but not India. I said, it's not the safest choice. Go with guides and spirit guides and tour guides. And I said to my husband, like, I don't think you could have handled it. Like, we went to one city it's called Varanasi, and it's where all the Hindus go to die. It's just a hospice city, essentially. And then they believe in cremation because fire, which this is a great connection to witchcraft, fire is the purifying element in Hinduism. So they burn the body, and that purifies the soul to be received and reincarnated. And then the ashes are brushed into the Ganges River, which the river runs. I mean, the town is like Venice because the way the river runs, not in any other way, but the river part. So you take boats everywhere and you see these bodies just burning. And like I said to my husband, like, I don't think you could have handled seeing that. He watched a documentary with me when I got back, so I could kind of show him it in a more like concrete way than just my photos and videos. But I don't think everyone has to go. But I know that if you attend a workshop or follow me on Instagram and you see what I'm doing, you'll get something from it without having to go there yourself, and that's fine. I love to be able to do that for people. Like, I never want to pressure people into traveling, but I do think if you have the chance, and like I said, close to home is going to be actually probably even stronger spiritual connections. You know, when we reach out to the genius loci, to the land spirits, and we build that relationship, the fae, or the, you know, however you personify the elements, gnomes, you know, dryads, like there's so much to connect to at home. The spirit of place is not just, you know, temples or buildings or even stone circles like Stonehenge, and all these places are great, but there's actually really spiritual places around you too.
Yeah, we live at the base of the Rocky Mountains here, and
Yeah.
we step outside and you look above the houses, and it's just this huge, majestic mountain. Sometimes it's snowed on, sometimes
It's beautiful.
it changes, and the colors, and in the rainy season, the mountain just like completely gets swallowed up by cloud cover. The mountain's gone. It's like somebody photoshopped it out.
Wow.
It's breathtaking and awe-inspiring for me that the way nature can work itself and change and modify, and like it short circuits my brain to go out and not see a mountain there. It's just gray. It looks like the sky where a mountain used to be, and it does something. Like, I know the science behind it, and I know what causes it, and all of that, but my brain still has a really hard time grasping the idea that there was a mountain there yesterday and today it is not.
Yeah.
And I know the mountain
that's
is still
magic
there, but I can't see it, and my brain is just like, that's not okay. That is not right. It's not supposed to do that. So yeah, and we just had a bout of that a couple days ago, and today it's sunny and warm, and the mountain is beautiful, and it's snow capped, and it's I don't have to try. I'm fortunate that I don't have to travel very far. Like, I just have to step out on my front porch and see that, and make that connection, that it's not even the place, it's the understanding and grasp that I have that is life. That's me. That's what I'm from. That's where.
Yeah, exactly. It helps you, like, when you apply that lens of like noticing. I mean, it's observance first and foremost. I always say that. People ask me, like, how do I know, you know, how do I connect to gods and goddesses? How do I connect to my spirit guides? Just acknowledge them first. That's it. Decide that they're out there and listening and ready to have a relationship with you. And that's 90% of it. The other 10% then is, like you said, like trying to sort of wrap your head around it and realizing that it's an understanding that we're just part of it. You know, that like corny thing people always say, like, we're just stardust. Like, yeah, but we are. Like, that's all we are. We're going to be that again in the blink of an eye, and in the, you know, the grand scheme of time. And like, it's beautiful. Like, we're part of that ecosystem. And that, like you said, you don't have to travel far to apply that lens. I think spiritual travel is helpful because it helps you leave and then come back. I always see travel as like stepping out. Like, if you're a painter and you're always up there with the detail, you need to step back and look at the full picture before you can say what needs to be done next. And that's the same with your life, you know, stepping outside of it on a vacation or a pilgrimage or a day trip or tickets to an event that you really want to see or go to. That's going to give you a chance to come back into your life and look at it in a new way. It'll always be beneficial to do that.
What a beautiful way to end an interview. Thank you so much. I mean, that brought insight, that brought perspective, that brought and we didn't even get a chance to share any photos or anything. When your interview goes, we'll add some of those.
Yeah, for sure.
To the paper, we'll add some images from the trip and that you want to have included in there. We'll get some good pictures, but just being able to sit down and listen to the perspective of someone who's been, you know, around the world, and I couldn't ask for anything more. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for having me. And I'm excited to, like, if readers have questions, like in depth, you know, wherever this post, they can comment, or the links will be in the interview too, right? For people to like message me, or
Yeah.
my emails in my website. Yeah.
Your
Because
byline.
I love helping people too.
Your byline
They're
will be
curious
a
about travel.
link that will take them wherever you want them to go. So they'll end up on your Instagram or your Patreon. We'll send the link right to them, and they'll be able
Oh,
to
perfect.
connect with you right from your byline on the article. So yeah,
Fantastic.
thanks so much. Thank you. I think that's gonna wrap it for us. Everybody have a blessed day. If you aren't subscribed, become a subscriber. Well, that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah.
But thank you from Metaphysical Times, from me personally, and from our readers.
Yes, thanks for joining us.
Have a great day, everybody.